Okay,
All
let's
right.
go.
I
Hey,
like how
how
this
are you?
starts. I'm fantastic. Jessica, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I love the background. I love the energy you bring every week. And I got to tell you, this week I've had more lenders than ever reach out to be like, "Hey, what are you doing? Can we talk?" And I'm always like, "No, I have a lender. We've worked together for 5 years. Ian beats everybody's rate." Then they always ask if they could be my number two, which is hilarious because then I send them the R. Kelly video of "Be My Number Two" just to be extra.
Thank you so much. I know.
There's not been one time that you're like, oh, I can't do it. Better call your number two. That's literally never happened. So I want to start our show with that. You have always been able to get the very best rate. Can you? I know I didn't prepare you for that question, but like, can you speak to that and how you're able to get a better rate than all of the other lenders that my clients sometimes call first?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. It really comes down to compensation and what your set compensation is as a lender or a broker. Most banks out there and brokers are anywhere between 1.75 to 2.5% in compensation based on the loan amount, which is about industry standard. But
Uh-huh.
in the marketplace that we've been in, and with rates being so high, the more comp you get as a loan officer, the higher interest rate it results to the client.
Right.
And rates are already been high for a long time. So in order to stay competitive and to make the payments somewhat palatable, I've always believed in, a volume-based situation, and people will call me back if I give them a good fair shake at a deal. So I like to stay under industry standard with a lower comp plan. And that's typically how we're able to do it. And a lot of offices, they need money to keep the lights on. They need money to pay for the culture, is
Uh-huh.
what you would call
Uh-huh.
it, and that's great and all. That's good depending on what you want as a workplace. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to get business from a client, and I don't think they care about my culture. I think they care about, what I know as a lender and the knowledge that I carry, the products we have, and what is my rate and how much is it going to cost. So,
Hmm.
and can we deliver on time
Yeah.
is a key thing. So, those three elements to me are more important than culture in an office. So, I mean, we were this day and age, I work remotely. I know you work remotely. I'm kind of like a real
Yeah.
estate agent. Agents go all over the place. I don't go all over the place, but I am in front of my computer, but I'm not in an office. I don't pay for a desk fee. I don't pay for that stuff. So that's kind of the difference, right?
So I just referred you a young man, Angelo, super cool
Angelo,
kid.
yeah,
He's
not
like,
Angela, but
yeah, so
Angelo.
you can't trust me in voice recognition on my text messages, but Angelo, super cool
Yeah,
kid. He's like 24. But all my boys worked with him. This kid's making 80 grand a year. He's young.
good
And one
for
of his
him.
friends said, hey, you should buy a house. You should go talk to three lenders and see which one has the best deal. And I said, that's a novice right there. I have the best deal. His name is Ian. And if I don't offer that, then if I don't know what that looks like and I'm telling you to go find it, you've done this once in your life. I'm doing this 4 times a month. Well, that
Yeah,
says a lot about who you are. So I said, go ask how often this lender does down payment assistance, how many down payment assistance deals you've done in the past 12 months, and how many temporary buy downs you've done in the past 12 months. And then come back to me with those answers and we'll find out if we're talking to your guy. I doubt
yeah,
we are. Because this, and I said, Ian and I have been doing this for 2.5 years. That's all we do with buyers. Every single one of our buyers for the past 2.5 years, I have had a minimum of a 4% credit for a temporary buy down. Minimum.
yeah.
And you have got the best rate. Several of them had checked other rates. Oh, my buddy Tom. And I'm like, we're not using Tom. We get over to you, and it's always you. So I want to speak to the experience that goes with that, with you, and the fact that you have to be running volume and run a lean business machine to be able to offer the kind of deals you're offering. Because
Yeah.
that's what you've been able to offer, and that's why I've never had to go to a number two. We've been
Well,
just
no,
getting deals done.
I love it. I appreciate that. And it's I'm not discounting any other lender for their product, but we have our in-house products with the bank, and we also utilize and wholesale as a bank.
Mm-hmm.
People say, "Oh, it's better to be a broker than a bank," but as a bank, we also broker. We have the ability to go to 90 of the lenders that we're approved with. And so we have a much larger wholesale channel than most wholesale brokers. So when
Uh-huh.
it comes down to it, we can do grants, we can do, depending on the scenario and how much credit you need, like the grants that we have and most banks have, they don't allow temporary buy downs,
Uh-huh.
but here's the catch, right? It's tricky on what you want. So those products have higher interest rates,
Uh-huh.
but the second that is the down payment is forgiven after 6 payments. And your interest rate's higher on the first mortgage, but after that 6 month period, you can refinance and take the market lower rate. Now that one you can't get a temporary buy down, but you're only in that payment for 6 months, 6 payments, and then you essentially just do a rate and term refinance, lower the interest rate, and you're at market rate. Now the other option is, with the Calhafa program or the other products that we've got, you can do that. A second, you can do a second, and you can get a silent second where you don't pay on that second,
Uh-huh.
but that second is due when you go to refinance or when you go to sell, and that second is your down payment, your
Right.
3 or 3.5%. So, so that one you can do a temporary down payment buy down on, and we
Right.
do those a lot because a lot of people have trouble palating that,
Mhm.
that higher interest rate because just rates are so high. But they
They're
have,
high. Yeah.
yeah, they are high. They have been coming slowly down. There's been a lot of uncertainty with tariffs and not
Yep.
getting into the economic piece of things, but the world's getting used to the tariff and the traders are getting used to the tariffs and the market is understanding that some of the methodology is actually working and some isn't working as good. But for the most part, tariffs, they improve our position with our inter economy within the US. So it's forcing more companies to produce within the United States. And
Mhm.
it's not an overnight improvement.
Of course.
If
Yeah.
we have
But we're seeing this
companies,
trickle down to our industry right now.
yeah,
It's I'm feeling it. You're seeing it. You just this morning, because Ian and I work together. Like again, no offense to all the other lenders that are like, use me, use me. I'm like, Ian and I have worked together for 5 years, guys. That's like and we worked together prior to that too. And we had to cut some people out of the mix that didn't deserve to be part of our team. We go way back. So people don't just reach out to me. They usually often reach out to both of us. So we got a message this morning from one of our friends that watches the news that said, "Hey, I just saw in the news, and this is the second person to reach me today to say this. It says that prices are dropping. What's going
yeah,
on?" And I said, prices have been stagnant for 2 years. We
yeah,
have more inventory right now than we have had in along we've had way too much inventory all along for these past 2 years. It's been more and more inventory. Typically spring and summer everyone puts their house on the market. Nothing changed. They're still all retiring early, leaving California. There's still a lot of that, and we have even more inventory. And when you have 68 homes in Lincoln, it all tastes like chicken. You're not getting your number. It's all
that's
same.
that's crazy because what you're saying is unheard of 2 years ago in the summer. In the summer, they were
Yep.
people were running over children to get an offer accepted, right? They literally were just there was 30, 40 offers on a
No, you're
property.
right. Two years ago it was good. It wasn't until the end of 23 that rates crept up and everything came to a screeching halt. 24 was horrific for those of
Yeah,
us that did business. Remember, 75% of the realtors did zero transactions in 24.
right.
Zero. So I mean that's a staggering number. And you and I were still doing business, but I was hustling like I've never had
Yeah,
to hustle before to get deals through. And here we are in 25, where I was really expecting amazing things. We're gearing up for summer in June, and the news is reporting that prices are dropping. Whether
yeah,
that's factual or not, that is now what our buyers perceive. And that is going to change things. So we had talked a little bit about this, pre-show and what that means for the market we're in right now. Can you expand on that and like kind of where
yeah.
we are right now?
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing is affordability, and
Uh-huh.
I mean some people we priced out with down payment assistance at 600,000. Now this is not including a temporary buy down that we
Right.
do, right? This is about $1,000 more than what the temporary buy down payment would be, but we're almost at $4,900 on a $600,000 purchase,
Yeah,
right?
with
With
the
zero
spirit.
down, of
Yeah.
course, and that's bringing nothing to the table. But when you implement the temporary buy down, it's 3,900. But
Uh-huh.
that speaks volume because most agents do not sell and do not try to earn their money, right?
Uh-huh.
And like you, when you're going in, asking for 6% is not an easy ask. And you're going to get nothing but pushback. And most agents don't want to work for that pushback, right?
They
And
don't
so,
want the pushback, and I feel like it's not only my duty and my job to do the very best thing for our borrowers, it's my job to educate the agents on the other side that don't understand the market we're in. And
yeah,
I'm doing a lot of that. I've done a lot of that this week where they're like, "Oh yeah, we're waiting for full price." I'm like, I don't know if you know what market we're in right now. You've been on the market 84 days. You haven't had an offer. Do you understand there's 68 other properties that are very, very, very similar at a very similar price? You're not getting your price.
well, I mean, the numbers that the NAR issued, just to kind of
Yeah,
reiterate the market, households making $75,000, which isn't much in California. It's still
right.
a decent amount of money, but we're able to afford 48% of the home listings in 2019. That number has since cut in half and then some. It's at 21%. So the affordability level
Uh-huh.
of where rates are and home prices that continue to go up last year, right
Uh-huh.
now, they're not really edging up, right? That it's kind of
Absolutely
it's
not.
plateaued, and so it's sitting. But now it's just a reality shock. But any seller, in my opinion, that has a house on the market, they need to sell, right? If you're selling a house and you have three and a quarter, and you have no reason to sell other than I want a bigger house, think twice before you do that,
Right.
right?
Right.
Think twice because you got three and a quarter. Why on earth would you get rid of it?
Yep.
Look into other options.
Yep.
Borrow from your 401k and put a down payment on a bigger property, right? Rent that
Yep.
property out.
Yep.
But I mean, you're at three and a quarter. You'll never see those rates again, my
I don't
opinion,
think in our
right?
lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you, honestly, if you have anything below 4%, think twice before selling. Think about how we can leverage that property with the home equity line of credit, how we could leverage other properties, how we could borrow from their 401k, how you can get a gift from a friend or family member and pay them and maybe gift them back down the road. But
Right.
there are other means and ways to buy a move up property than just
Right.
sell it
Yep.
because that's the thing. And that's what's happening. The people that are selling now have to sell. And
Yep.
so and that is, and right now people that have to sell are either high in debt,
Mm-hmm.
they're gone through a divorce, or they're relocating, right? Uh,
Or I'm running into
or
this too.
I want to
They have
hear
a
it.
rental. They've got a rental.
Yep.
They realize they don't like being a landlord, and they heard that prices are dropping. So they put their house on the market 6 months ago. It hasn't moved. Their agent is telling them untruths. Oh, it's worth this much, and it's not. And they're not getting their number, and they're holding out for an arbitrary number that's never going to happen
Yeah.
in a space where there are 20 plus homes within their small area that are all alike, and they're not going to get their number, but they're holding out for it. I'm seeing
And
a lot of that.
and this is where you're meant, like Jessica, she every single offer she pitches the buy down. It's
Oh,
really
every
hard.
single one.
And this temporary buy down, for those who don't know, say market rate for FHA is 6.5.
Uh-huh.
If you get a temporary buy down and the seller pays for it,
Yep.
that means for 1 year, for the first year, your rate will be 2% lower the first year. So you'll be paying on 4.5.
Right.
So basically, on a $600,000 home, it's about $800 a month,
Which is
right?
everything.
Right. And so the second year, you're at 1%
Uh-huh.
higher than where you were just were. So you're at now 5.5%. And so you're still saving 400-ish dollars a month. The
Uh-huh.
ideology behind these types of loans, they're 30-year fixed loans. So on the third year, you're at your sellable 6.5 rate. But
Hmm.
the hopes are, and we can't guarantee it, but the hope is that rates will stabilize and you can refinance and do a lower payment at that point. By that time, housing market should recover and be back to business. However, in the event it doesn't, it's you have to be sure that you can afford that 6.5 payment. right? A
Yep.
higher payment.
Yep. And that's
If-
where I start when we go over payment
yeah,
comfort. Here's worst case
exactly.
scenario. Can you handle that? If you can handle that, then everything else is gravy. Put away some money during your lower payments, pay
Yep,
off your debt. And that way,
yep,
if you don't start making more money, which you should, but God knows where we're going, right? If all the cards are stacked against us, come year 3, you're okay. I will
yeah,
not put somebody in a home unless they're good with that and they're
100%.
comfortable with it.
Exactly. You know that right there is the biggest piece. Is this payment manageable for
Right?
you?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean that led to my demise back in I think 2007, 2008. I gave myself an adjustable mortgage,
Ooh, I had
right?
one of those.
Yeah,
The
I
lender,
gave myself one of those.
the
So
idiot lender I was working with, it must have been 2003. It was 2003. The idiot lender said, "This is a great product." And I said, "What are you talking about? This is a terrible product. This is a short, I'm in the real estate industry. This is a short-term product. I have to get out of this in 6 months. This is no good. This is only
yeah,
for me to get into a house." And then 6 months it was seasoned. And then I went into a different type of loan. I ended up selling that house. But it's crazy to me that that was being sold as like a great product.
I don't want anyone to go through that same experience.
Yeah.
So I'm very cautious of that, and that's one thing that we always make sure of. The other piece is that now you're able to actually negotiate that credit,
Yep.
and if there's someone out there that has not it's been using an agent and that agent has not been negotiating a temporary buy down, that
And
agent has not
closing
been
costs.
negotiating
And
closing costs,
yeah.
that agent is not getting credits, then
Right.
you need to keep your options open. You need to ask your agent, and then you need to talk to Jessica, because Jessica is the one that will get it done. Now, here's the thing though. It's like the question that I always want to know, Jessica, is like last year you wrote a lot of offers on
Mhm.
one client, and sometimes people getting with down payment assistance, you don't get your cake and eat it too. You don't get
Yeah.
the best of the pickings. So when you're writing an offer on a property, what's the most typical property that you'll likely get considered on with the way you make offers at 6% credit and with
And
that
42
seller paying?
days. So 42 days so we can use DPA. I'm going after properties that have been on the market 74 days. That's the sweet spot. I'm still educating the agents about what they're doing or what they're not doing correctly.
Yeah,
And that's what I asked them. Oh, the seller doesn't like that offer. I said, "Have you had a conversation with the seller about what our inventory looks like?" "Oh yeah." Like, "Did you send them the comps I just sent you?" I had 28 houses to look at last Saturday. 28. They were all alike. So we made 2 offers, and what the first one said, "Oh, we don't like that offer." I'm like, "Keep waiting. Good luck." The second agent, very new, had a lot of attitude, and she said, "Oh, the seller thinks that's excessive." And I was like, "Good luck. You're going to need some luck, girl. So good luck. You don't know what you're doing. You are overpriced in a market where there's a million homes all within this price range." So they're
yeah,
coming back down this Saturday. They're from the Bay Area, coming back down Saturday. We're going to go see another 12 to 20 homes. We're still putting a list together. I already have 12 that have all been on the market 42 days plus, just in Placer County. All very, very, very similar. 4 bedroom, 2 bath, under 600. There's a lot of them. So,
I mean, think about that. 42 days on the market, and then still you got another 30 days to close after that,
yep,
right?
yep.
40, 50, that's like 72 days, 70 days on the market if
Mm-hmm.
you're lucky,
Yeah,
right?
I'm seeing a lot of that. The houses that are going quickly are priced number one below market. They're priced below market, and they're exactly alike. So if all
Yeah,
these other homes are 4.2s and they're very similar in the same neighborhood, they're priced at 600. You go on at 585, you'll get 2 offers, close quickly. But you
right.
go on at 600, you're just like everybody else. It all tastes like chicken. Nobody can tell the difference.
Yeah.
That is the big problem I'm seeing right now in the market we're in.
Yeah, well, why not? If you're a buyer and you're seeing all this inventory and you're seeing
Yep,
all these houses on the market and you're seeing these price points, if you see a good deal, you're going to jump on it. But
yep,
if you see a deal at market, I mean, I mean, if you're not getting a ton of credits, making an offer at asking price
yep.
is less than advantageous,
Well,
right?
those days are over. The agents that are like, and some of them told me that, "Oh, we had an offer at asking." I said, "Why are you here then at an open house?" "Oh,
Right.
it didn't end up working out." Like, yeah, that's what we guessed. Yeah. You're not getting asking price. You're just not.
Yeah.
You've got to be priced below, you've got to be a better product and priced below the rest in order to get an offer right away.
Yeah.
That's just facts. That's where we are right now. So it's a great time for buyers, which
Right.
another Angelo had actually mentioned that today. He said, "Oh, my agent said it's a really good time right now. It's going to be a good time in a few months to buy." I said, "It's been a good time for 2 years. The last 2 years have been a buyer's market, not a seller's market. We're not,
Yeah.
the pendulum hasn't even swung back to an even market yet. We are still very much a buyer's market. And with the,
Yeah.
coming inventory that's adding to our already stale inventory, it's going to be more of a buyer's market."
That new construction inventory, there's a development out
Yep.
by my house that they're developing 5 communities, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you have Roseville, they're pumping out properties.
Yep. Yep.
So they're still building, right? They're
Well,
just
oh yeah, West Roseville's getting, well, you can speak to this also. I didn't prep you on that question, but as a builder, because you're part of this on the back end as a conglomerate, as a builder, you have this advantage that everyday people don't have, where you can buy a lot of these loans, right? And offer everybody 5.5 for a 30
yeah,
year. So
you can
new
you
construction has something that we don't on resale right now. And that's why people would go, why would you pay 600 for a 1982 house if you can pay 600, guarantee a rate, and everything's brand new with a warranty for 10 years?
there's a trick. So the trick that these builders are doing, they're
Uh-huh.
building it into the cost of the property
Sure.
and the upgradings of
Sure.
the upgrade. So whatever they're saying is a $20,000 upgrade really is a $10,000 upgrade. They're
Uh-huh.
taking that $10,000 and they're shoving it into the cost of that money or a buy down on,
Yeah.
on the market itself. But they're getting their money. The one thing that you have to consider is you may be getting that rate, but how much are you paying for this property?
Uh-huh.
What's the Melrose on this property, and what's
And
the
the
HO,
HOA and the
HOA?
solar, because a
Yep,
lot of them aren't including it. So you're
the
doing solar
solar.
on top of Melrose, HOA, and yeah.
And then there's
Right.
lot lines. Lot lines is another piece, how
Yep.
close these houses are together. And then to be quite honest, some of the construction quality that I've seen is not as good as some of these older homes, right?
Oh,
They're
amen.
they're
There's a
throwing
couple
they're
builders.
throwing them
Yeah.
together. Like if you look at the rain gutters, I've seen stuff look like a snake,
Uh-huh.
just coming down the line. And that's how the rain gutter's set for a brand new home. I'm like, if that's the detail that they're putting on the rain gutters, let's see the
Uh-huh.
insulation inside the house. Let's see how the electricity is wired. Let's see,
Right. Yeah.
there's a lot of things that you have to take in consideration when you're looking at a house. Don't just go, oh yeah, this house looks great, I don't need an inspection, because I've seen some junkers. And be careful and talk to Jessica about the quality of the property, because you still got to put in a backyard. You may
There's
be getting a good
definitely
rate,
still,
but
yeah,
you
definitely
got
still
you have
expensive.
money to put into these properties, and
Yeah.
so in some cases it's a great deal, right? But really be cognizant of all the extras that you have to pay for that low rate.
Really great. And if you are somebody looking into a new home, what Ian and I do, and I can say this on on our podcast because we do this for everybody. And another shout out to Ian, because when I ask other lenders, "Hey, are you going to cover the appraisal?" They're like, "Oh, I don't think I can do that." You absolutely can. Ian does it. Ian covers the appraisal for every single one of our buyers, which is like $750, and I cover all the inspections, which are typically about $1,500. I need a
Yep.
roof inspection, home inspection, and a pest inspection minimum. And then sometimes there's some additional costs that come from that. So if you are going into a new property, you can expect to get all of that back, because if you're doing your walkthrough with your superintendent rather than a separate inspector, that's just money you're going to get back at the 1,500. And if you're
Yeah.
using Ian rather than their 5.5, I want to weigh it and make sure, then you're getting your appraisal covered. So you do need to know the difference. And once you walk in that new home development, we're cut out of the deal. Like I have to, well, Ian's not, I am. I have to walk in with you and register you in order to help you get the property and give you anything back. But if you're looking for a new home, slam dunk, no problem. You already know you want to live in West Roseville, which is becoming the airport, no problem. We'll go right out there. They write the contract. It's a referral fee, and I can give you that inspection fee of that 1,500 back. If you work with Ian and I, we can also cover your appraisal. And I want to make sure it's still the best rate and the best deal with whoever we're looking at doing the deal.
Right. Right.
Because
The
otherwise,
landscape.
unless you know the options, you don't know that it's the best option.
I mean, if you could do a new community with 1 year into it where you can do another inspection on the property, the landscaping's
Yep.
already done, and that is a good option to have. If you want a newer type home. But if you're a brand new buyer, do you really need a brand new home? Right. And that's the question to think about. Like when you just start driving and you have a driver's license and you get your license, you don't go buy a brand new car unless your parents are really wealthy and you're spoiled, right? You
Right.
get you get a startup car
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
get a little beater and you drive it around and you're just happy you got a little car. So you need to keep the same, realistic expectations on your first house. So anyone going with down payment assistance, try to really take in consideration that this is your first home. It's not going to be perfect. You need to have some major boxes to check, usually location, bedroom and bathroom, and is this house going to fall apart? Am I not going to get harmed in 5 years, right? Via harmed via, is this house too much money, or, is it in a bad area? There's things like that. So those are the three major. All the others are bells and whistles that can be
yeah.
adjusted by you, or you can buy that later. So
And I
um,
like to look at when we're looking at new homes, I like to look at that outside community and look at the homes that were built a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Very, very
right.
similar, often lower in price. I'm dealing with a straight seller where I can get a 6% credit. I can't get that from the
Mhm.
builder. Builder's like, oh, we offer 12,000. Like, what's that going to do for me? What's that going to,
Right.
that's not going to do anything. I need 6%, and on 600,000, that's 36,000. That's what I need. And
Yeah.
you already have a backyard. You already have the upgrades. They already added the speakers. So don't limit yourself to one option. Look at all of the options.
Right. No, I love it. That's good. Well, I mean, Jessica, this is a good market to be in. There's a lot of inventory, and if anyone's looking for down payment
Oh
assistance,
yeah, give us your number because everybody is and everybody needs to talk to you. We have 3 pre-approved buyers right now, all using down payment assistance. They have
yeah,
down payment set aside, but they're saving that so they can make repairs because we forewarned them about what they're walking into. You're not just
right.
going to go for broke and spend all of your money and walk into a house with $0. We're going to hang on to your money. We're going to use down payment assistance. Seller's going to pay for your buy down. Seller's going to pay for your origination because that's a thing also that no one's talking about with the DPA program. And
Yep.
seller's going to pay for your closing costs and we're going to get all that covered.
That's awesome. Well, my number is 916-872-7177. And Jessica, I know, do you even need to give your number?
Oh, 916-532-8916. I also want everyone to know, like, I respond to things pretty quickly. As a lender, it's incredibly hard to do that. Lenders are like on the phone and in front of the computer 24/7 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Ian responds. I mean, almost always within the hour. And that's really hard to get to have that personalized service. If you are dealing with somebody and you're getting their LP1, you're getting a processor and you're not getting the real deal, call in because you need to have a strategizing session with what your options are so you know what they look like. And if you're not getting that initial strategizing session, how do you know that this is your best option unless you know what all of your options are? And
Yeah,
that's not something that typically people in our industry go over. They're like, here's this is good for you, take that. And I'm like, what about your other 10 options? I mean,
right.
we need to talk about those. It's their decision. This is the biggest purchase you're going to make in your life.
Huge. Yeah, it's a big payment. It's a big decision. You need to know your options. There's
Yeah.
the grant programs. There's the silent second programs. Some offer heavy credits. Some offer temporary buy downs. There's a lot of things to understand and know, but it really comes down to your financial profile. What's your ultimate 3 to 5 year goal with the
Yep.
property, and where do you see yourself and your family?
Which
So
is something we ask everybody. And I
yeah,
mean, I've had these conversations the last couple weeks because I'm out with a lot of buyers again. And I'm saying,
right.
what's your plan? I want to make sure I'm going to look like an idiot if in 3 to 5 years I can't get you out of here. That's why we're
Yeah,
not choosing that neighborhood. We're choosing this neighborhood because I do 30 houses in this community all the time. This is
right.
why we're choosing here. I know I can get you out of it. If you have a job transfer, like a lot of our clients do, because we work with a couple companies, one in
Mhm.
particular that gives us all of their business and they do a lot of transfers. So we do a lot of business within that company. I need to make sure I can rent your house out, as we've done for all these folks, or I can sell it. And I'm going to look like an idiot if I can't get you out of it. So we need to
Yeah,
make sure we know what your plan is. Is this a forever home or is it a 3 to 5 year mark? Are you in a job where you're constantly moving up that ladder and being transferred? I need to have a good plan for that.
right, right. No, that's the most important question. It's kind of, you have to have a target in anything. You have to have a target in your goals personally,
Mhm.
and your real estate life. Some people don't want to be a landlord. They don't want to keep acquiring real estate. Great, but some people do, and the people that have large wealth in their portfolio and they have a lot of tax incentive own real estate for a reason. And
Yep.
so over the course of say 10 years, you could buy 7 to 8 properties and you could be done. So if you really want to understand how to build that wealth and how to do it correctly, the first time, because you can't backpedal once you
Yeah.
buy property. Really want to make the smart purchase first. The first purchase is the smartest one, and
Yeah.
then the second is the most strategic one, and then the third is kind of a rinse and repeat situation. But you have to be attached to the right team, get a lender, get a realtor that know what they're doing in that regard, and you definitely have Jessica in there.
Well, and we work together all the time. So we've got
Yeah.
that going for us. And we're all about strategy. Give your number one more time, Ian.
916-872-7177.
Okay. Always a pleasure. See you next week where we report on what's going on then. I can't imagine it's going to be
I
much
know.
different, but I'm excited to see what new programs we can discuss
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
All right. Awesome.
Bye.
See you next
Bye,
week.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.